does seem to be working. Hello, Facebook. Oh, I think I've just knocked you off your stand. Hold on 1 second. Hello, YouTube, to everybody who's watching me on catch up. I was just saying to our friends here on Instagram, it is very, very windy here. So I was going to be outside because I thought it might be quite nice to show you some of the coast in Kenya, but honestly, it's blowing a gale and I don't think you would have heard a single word. So I have come inside. And it is very cloudy and that does affect the satellites, but hopefully I'm sitting literally on top of the Wi-Fi router. I've got 2 dongles as backups on different networks. So there we go, hopefully. Thank you very much. Yeah, I feel very well. So I'm here on the coast. Those of you who follow me on Instagram may have followed my stories yesterday, my journey down from Nairobi. Honestly, I've done this trip so many times over the last 20 years, I've lost count, and I haven't been able to be here for the last 2 years. So when I was last here, literally it must be nearly 2 years ago, almost to the day, I left 2 bags of things, I left all my clothes, I left, everything. And of course I got back here and everything was just incredibly musty, and that's what happens down on the coast because it's very humid. So I had to just kind of wash everything and have it all resorted and clean it all up. But anyway, here I am, and hopefully here for a little while and then back to Nairobi. It's a beautiful day in Northumberland, is it? Excellent. Oh, and I'm glad you're following my travels and enjoying that. Yeah, it's a really special place. I mean, Kenya, has been a big family connection of mine for a long time. We've got a family home here. My eldest son is living here now and working here. So it's been fantastic to see him and just reconnect with so many friends and obviously bring you just many more different things and a different kind of vibe. So although I'm indoors, you can probably just see a little bit from behind me. Certainly I think you've got a bit of a wider view on Facebook and YouTube. The coast is a different architecture from the rest of Kenya. One of the great things about Kenya is it's very varied. You've got the Masai Mara with the big cats. You can go up to northern Kenya where it's very rocky and mountainous, and that's where the elephants live. And then down on the coast, it's quite Islamic in culture. So I'm wearing a sort of kaftani type dress. There's a different kind of vibe that goes on. There's lots of really beautiful plaster carvings. And you can maybe see behind me, there's a painting, kind of the architecture of what it looks like here in Lamu. And I will put lots of pictures on my Instagram, on my stories a little bit later. But it's been a busy old day already, just kicking off the week because my mini series was going out on this morning. Haven't yet seen it, but I've got somebody recording it and they're going to send it to me. So let me know what you thought if you watched it. It was part of the mini-series called Fab at 50. And actually that kind of echoes a lot of what I talk about here on Earle Wellbeing. Obviously it's about how to have a better second half, how to navigate things like the menopause, aging, fitness as we age, skin, mental health, all that kind of things. Oh, you've been watching my stories to Lamu. Yeah, it was great. Well, it's lovely to be able to share it, because last time I was here 2 years ago, I don't think I put any pictures up. I might have put 1 or 2 pictures up on social media, but I certainly wasn't doing all these lives and just bringing everything to life and being very interactive. So today I've got a really special guest joining us from the UK. So again, I hope the signal holds. He's one of my favourite pharmacists, working now as a brand founder of the Naked Pharmacy. Lots to talk about, some really interesting things actually, ways to cope with anxiety, low mood, stress, really important for the moment, and also looking at things like fat loss and just weight gain, shaping up, all of that. So I hope that it is all working for you. So good, glad you're enjoying. Your neighbours are moving to Nairobi tomorrow, Joe. Wow, how amazing. Nairobi is an incredible city, so it's very varied, depends where they live. There are lots of different suburbs and different parts of Nairobi, but it's a really vibrant city. Lots happening in the world of wellness and spas and eco restaurants, sustainability, lots of entrepreneurship. So again, I've been putting some of that in my stories as well. So before I get going with Kevin, I just wanted to show you, I put a little thing on my Instagram this morning. I went for a beach walk really early. It gets really hot here. So, if you're going to go outside, it's really good to go either early in the day or late. So I went out first thing. And I picked up a couple of things from the beach, which I wanted to share with you because they're very relevant to the Earle Wellbeing jewellery. I don't know whether you can see here, but I'm wearing my little mangrove earrings. These are the rose gold ones, the little hearts. I thought rose gold because they kind of work with the glitter in my top. And in fact, we have them, just so that you know, we have them on a really special discount in there's our Wellbeing magazine, first page. And this is really inspired by Lamu. So the whole Liz Earle jewellery line is inspired by different botanicals, and they're kind of botanically correct. They're not just kind of blobby splodges. They actually do represent a lot of the flowers and leaves and foliage and things that I found on my travels. And this heart-shaped design is based on the mangrove leaf, and I managed to pick some up. I'm actually covered in sand. That's a mangrove leaf. So mangrove is a really interesting plant because it's one of the few plants that thrives in salty water. So Lamu is actually an archipelago of islands, and it's surrounded by mangroves that grow, and there's lots of wildlife and birds and all sorts of things that live in the mangroves. And that's what the leaf looks like. And a few years ago, I was walking on the beach and I was picking up these leaves, and I was just thinking that would make an amazing addition to the Liz Earle jewellery range. Judith says, I bought the rose gold mangrove earrings for my daughter's 40th birthday last week. They're beautiful and she loves them. That's so great. Well, snap, I'm wearing mine too. So what's interesting about mangrove, so this is kind of it. I picked up another one here. That's kind of what it looks like. It's green in colour when it grows normally, and then obviously as the leaves fall off, they age, so you get this kind of yellowy colour. And then this one I found in the sea, which I thought was rather beautiful. That's obviously quite an old mangrove leaf, but again, it's still got that beautiful sort of natural shape. And for the jewellery, just so that you know very quickly, we did this partly actually in the magazine. We put the offer in because with Valentine's Day coming up next month, we thought heart shape, hearts are always classic, aren't they? But what I love about these is, this is the little box that they come in, just to show you. So that's the little box here. Little Liz Earle jewellery box, and it comes with a little card of authenticity telling you about its fair trade gold, so it's 24 karat gold vermeil. And we normally are only able to do the rose gold, the pinky gold, and the bright yellow gold, but this collection we're actually able to offer in a silver colour. This is rhodium plated over sterling silver. And do you see the little filigree design? That is to give it a 3D effect. And that echoes the veins, the natural veins in the leaves. So I thought I'd share that with you. And actually, interestingly, it's very hard to get fair trade silver. There's very, very little of it about, and it's very expensive. It's almost the same price as gold, to be honest. So I can't do a lot in silver because everyone would say, oh my goodness, your silver jewellery is so expensive. So what we've done is we've coated it in rhodium, which is obviously a precious metal. So there we go. Just thought I'd share that with you because their journey began right here in Lamu. So I thought it was appropriate to wear them. And again, those of you who've got the magazine, by the way, if you want to check them out, you can see them there, or go to the Liz Earle Jewellery website. And by the way, those of you that still have yet to subscribe to the magazine, or if you're thinking about it as a gift subscription, I said last time I introduced the new subscription gift, which is really beautiful. It's the Deep Sleep Overnight Treatment from Michael Van Clark. Amazing for hair that's a bit kind of thin and dry and needing a bit of extra oomph. One of my favourite words, as you know. And that has a retail value of £32.50, and it's free with the gift subscriptions, but there are only a few left. So if you still are on the fence about whether you're going to subscribe to the magazine or you want to give it as a gift subscription and have the gift sent to you, then Warners can do that as long as you let them know. Then please go and grab that right now because that is a very, very good deal. So let me see now whether we have got... We do have Kevin in the house now. Is this going to work? This is going to be a real test of connectivity. Oh my goodness, let us see. I have accepted, Kevin, I have accepted your request, and there you are.
There we go, yeah, hi.
I'm actually quite surprised that we've made it. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, it's perfectly clear, I'm amazed, yeah.
That is great. So where are you? You're in the UK, presumably?
Yeah, in Guildford, Surrey. So
okay.
we're at the pharmacy in Guildford.
Fantastic. And
not quite as glamorous as Kenya, though.
Well, it's been a while. It has been a while, and I'm just so thrilled that I was able to get here and that the connections work. Most importantly, I can carry on working. Now, we haven't spoken for a while, but I'm such a big fan of the Naked Pharmacy and everything that you're doing. For those who kind of missed it first time round last year, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background? Because you're a pharmacist, is that right?
I am, but I started life in the pharmaceutical industry with Boots Pharmaceuticals way back in 1982, so I'll show my age now. My background is pure pharmaceutical, so this journey I've been on has been kind of right the way from pure chemistry through to naturals. Via university pharmacy degree, bit of time with Pfizer, and then moving into Walida, and then on to the naked pharmacy.
That's amazing, and that's a really interesting journey for somebody who's gone from something that's so, chemistry driven, pharmaceuticals, and now you are 100% plant powered. What was your reasoning for that? Why did you suddenly kind of make that switch into the more natural world?
I think there's two reasons. I saw the role for pharmaceuticals in hospitals, but I could just see when people are moving out into community pharmacy that we were so dominated by chemicals, by synthetics, and I didn't always feel that was the right approach. And I kind of felt that this risk-benefit approach didn't really apply to people with general common problems.
Yeah.
Often food source solutions are the best way. They're better kind to the planet and they're kind to our body.
Yeah.
So I used to see customers coming back in the pharmacy time and time again for more and more prescriptions, and that didn't really sit well with me. As I say, I was very comfortable with it within hospital pharmacy, but
sure.
in retail pharmacy, I thought that there were a lot of solutions that people weren't being exposed to, that weren't being offered those options,
yeah.
which I thought was a real issue. Really
interesting. And for you coming from your background, you are very much evidence-based, aren't you? You're not into weirdy, woo-woo, bit of this, suck on that, might work. You're all about clinical trials and show me the data.
Yeah, we're data-driven. I can't lose that from my training. I think it's really important. I mean, you wouldn't sort of break off a small fragment of your aspirin tablet and expect it to work. And the same principle applies to naturals. So you've got to have the right strength and the right concentration of the bioactives.
Yeah.
So you talk about turmeric, you talk about bergamot, you talk about saffron. It's the bioactives within there that work, and the concentration that you need to have an effective strength to make a difference is a lot higher than you think. So, I've got this jar of turmeric here, which is about 60 grams in there. I don't know whether you can see that.
Okay, so our Instagram community can see it. Facebook and YouTube you can't, but Kevin's showing a jam jar that's kind of that big, filled with turmeric.
Yeah, so it's sort of a third full of turmeric. And that's a dose of turmeric you would need to have an effective dose for muscles and joints. So people think...
one dose?
Yes, one dose. So it's
one
about
dose,
60
the whole
grams.
jar full. Wow.
Yeah.
That puts it
so
into perspective.
Yeah, so you're not going to put that in your cooking.
No, exactly. I mean, cooking with it, having it in a bit of curry or whatever, that's great, but it's not going to give you that therapeutic dose, is it?
Yeah, and this is where the pharmaceutical techniques that we're using, that we're aligned to the natural, so we're using water and we're using grain alcohol sometimes to extract and concentrate. But it means you can take that 60 grams and put it into a single turmeric capsule. So that's really concentrating the bioactives. That's what makes the difference.
Yeah. That's really amazing, and I'm glad that you've mentioned those three things, because they're the three things that we're going to talk about today, which have been just so interesting to read about in the literature: the saffron, the bergamot, and the turmeric. So if we maybe start with the saffron, because that was how I first got to know you. And in fact, when I was out here in Kenya, I found this in my cupboard. This, I think, is your old packaging, isn't it?
It is,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
when we first started about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, so this has been a lifesaver for me. This is your Saffron, and you can see on it there's a picture of the lovely saffron crocus flower. And this was and you've got it in nice brown, it's brown paper packaging now, so it's much more eco.
Yeah.
And I first got to know this to help with sleep and anxiety, and we first wrote about it actually in the magazine. And also, to be honest, you have a children's version which has been an absolute lifesaver for my family and for children with anxiety. And I know that you've talked a lot before about spectrum issues, ADD, ADHD, that kind of thing. So let's talk about saffron, because that is the kind of the magic plant here. What is it, and how is it helping with sleep and anxiety?
Well, there's still a lot of research to come, I think, for saffron. I think we're still kind of learning about all its effects, but it's basically reconnecting, regenerating nervous fibers, connections, the serotonin hormones in between the synapses, and it's doing that in the gut. So people think that most of our kind of mood and nervous system is in the brain.
Yeah,
well, obviously it is, but
it starts down here, doesn't it?
It's most of it's down here. So serotonin, 70% serotonin produced in the gut, not in the brain. And the great thing about saffron is it's reconnecting the gut and the brain. So it's reducing inflammation. It's regenerating nerve cells. We can see that with macular degeneration. There's some research now that shows that age-related macular degeneration is improved by saffron.
Really, for the eyes, so that's eyesight, isn't it? As we age, macular degeneration.
Yeah. So if it's doing that in the eyes, it's doing that all over the body, particularly in this vagal nerve area, which is really important in the gut.
Wow.
And we just found that it's so fast-acting. 4 or 5 days in, it's making such a very profound but very subtle difference, to people's kind of ability to deal with stress, their hyperactivity, their sleep problems. We can take it in the morning because the cortisol levels are higher in the morning. Right. And generally for mood, if you've got problems with dips in mood, then it's really phenomenal product, and it's so gentle.
So gentle. And that's interesting you say that you take it in the morning, because when I first got it and started using it, I was thinking, well, if it's going to help with my sleep, I need to take it at night at bedtime. But then I spoke to you and you said, no, you take it in the morning.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange kind of thought there. It's affecting sleep. But this is seesaw effect with cortisol and melatonin sleep hormone. So if you're reducing the stress hormone in the morning, then you're affecting the ability to sleep in the evening because of this balance between the two.
That's so interesting. It's like they say when you go out for a walk in the morning and get some sunlight and kind of activate your pituitary gland, you sleep better that night, even though the walk was actually in the morning.
Yeah, exactly same principle. I think it's an amazing saffron, and you can see here, I don't know whether you can see that, but the saffron's stamens, they're hand-picked from the flowers in winter. So it gives the plant is giving you a bit of a hint in terms of that centerpiece. That's hand-picked. That little
yellow bit, that's the bit that they use. I'm just showing our friends on Facebook who can't see what you're showing. And just a couple of questions I can see coming up on Instagram here. Is it safe for everybody? And, what happens if you're already on something like antidepressants? Could you take it alongside that?
We have thousands of customers taking it alongside conventional drugs, and it's helped them kind of balance the side effects of the prescription drugs as well, which is really good. So it's helped with compliance from their perspective, and it's helped them reduce the dose sometimes. Some people take it on its own, and it's completely safe. It doesn't interact with other medication. The only thing we say, breastfeeding and pregnancy, because there's no data, we have to take a safe position on that one.
Yeah, sure. And my youngster, he has been taking it now, he's now 11. I think he probably started when he was about 8-9 years old, something like that. It's called Saffron, Donna. Go and have a look. It's the Naked Pharmacy. Rachel's on Facebook today. I think she's popped a link up because we've got a Liz Loves discount as well if you want it. But so for children, they have there's a different version that you can get, isn't it? Presumably it's a lower dosage, is it?
Yeah, the smaller capsule. And my son is also 11. He's been taking it since he was 6.
Has he?
So, yes, he has. And it's made a phenomenal difference. It just helps him settle.
Yeah, absolutely. Just that settling, that kind of calmness is really, really evident. And so nice as a parent or grandparent, to be able to offer something that is safe and natural and just works with the body, kind of rather than coming on and just kind of giving you a chemical kosh that changes your mood and your emotions, which you don't want to do at any age, but I think especially children.
No, and I think, as a parent, I think you're just so protective of your children. And I just didn't want him... I try to look at the options, what's the most effective and what's the safest option. And if it's a natural, then why not choose a natural?
Yeah, so try it, before resorting to, synthetic prescription-based alternatives, which, are there and have a use, definitely, but if there's something that can help, with mild symptoms. So I'm getting really hot here. I've had to shut all the windows because they're very noisy. There's builders outside. I apologise if you can hear some banging. I thought, and the wind as well. I thought, well, I'm just going to shut the windows. So it's a little bit. I'm like a sauna here. So by the end of our live, I should probably be.
Send some over here. It's quite cold in the office.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, just before we move on to talk about the bergamot and also the turmeric, what's interesting with Saffron is that I can see you've also put a couple of other little interesting things in here. You've put vitamin D, the D3 version, B6 and B12, which, as we know, are vitamins that are so helpful for immune support and for tiredness. Why did you select those three as a pharmacist to go with the Saffron?
Because I thought that they'd have the biggest impact on the conditions that we were helping to treat.
Right.
So our remedies are not kind of general nutrition. We're very targeted. We're looking at conditions where there's a significant evidence base, proper human research with the proper numbers.
Yeah.
And so when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at vitamins that are having an impact on that. But the important thing is, we only now use food source vitamins. So actually, we've just got the B12 and the D3 in there now because we can only source those from foods. Yep. The B6 at the moment I can't get from a food. Really? So, and that's important. Yeah, that's important to me. I think synthetically, I know the process from my days in research chemistry that whenever you're producing a synthetic, you produce impurities as a result of that process, and it's very difficult to remove those impurities, and it tends to be removed with solvents. Sometimes petrochemicals, and this for me is a philosophy, the nakedness of the business. We had to get back to our kind of natural roots, completely transparent. Yeah. And so the vitamin D is from an algae, and I think the B12 is also from an algae actually.
From a yeast or an algae, yeah. That's so interesting. So that's where your name came from. Is it the Naked Pharmacy?
Yes, partly because I also had a blog called The Naked Pharmacist. So I used to write about these subjects, and so it sort of evolved from there. We realised, and I wanted to open a pharmacy. The original Boots pharmacy was a herbalist way back in the 1900s.
Really, Boots was a herbalist. Isn't that fascinating? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he developed it as a service to the community, and I really wanted to develop that concept. But adding in the modern day science. Yeah. And it's really important that we are a registered pharmacy and we have 4 pharmacists here as a team. Gosh. And we provide free advice, and it's part of our community service that we think that as a hub, it's so difficult for consumers to navigate their way around.
Absolutely.
This, what's the best, where to get ingredients. We'll often advise on products we don't stock ourselves. Right. So we're not selective. We're often advising on conventional medicines alongside their naturals.
Sure. That's so reassuring to know that. I mean, I'm just seeing a couple of questions actually on Instagram saying that people are really desperate for some help and for some personalised advice. So can people email then you on your website to get that advice?
Yeah, you can email pharmacist@thenakedpharmacy.com. Wow. So you'll get one of our 4 pharmacists, and you can call us. So we take something like 120 calls and emails a day.
Really?
Yes, it's that busy. Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. And presumably during these kind of strange anxiety-making times, there's been a lot of calls of people who are needing some extra support.
Yeah. We started, obviously the pharmacy started just me, so so obviously we've grown, and I can see us with a team of maybe 10, 15 pharmacists in the end. I really do, Brilliant. I think the need is out there. Yeah. It really is.
Well, it's amazing. It's been amazing to be just a tiny part of your journey, and thank you very much for giving us the Liz Loves discount. We've got 20% off everything at the Naked Pharmacy, which is super generous. So thank you.
Thank you for watching us as well.
Well, no, I'm a big fan, genuine fan, and have these things, as you can see, in my own cupboard. Moving on to something that I'm not quite so familiar with, but I'm fascinated by, and that's bergamot. Now, I know bergamot as an Italian citrus fruit, sort of a cross between an orange and a lemon, from Bergamo in northern Italy, and I love it because I drink a lot of Earl Grey tea. So that's how I know bergamot. But from a pharmacy point of view, what's the benefit of bergamot?
So actually bergamot, the fruit, not the pulp of the fruit, not the skin, because the skin produces the essential oil which goes into the tea.
Yep.
So this is the pulp. And when you put enough of the pulp into a concentrated form, it basically binds to fat in the gut. So, and bad fat.
It binds to fat?
In the gut, yes.
Ooh,
so, and the second effect that bergamot polyphenols, these are the bioactives within the bergamot, they change the way that the liver processes fat. So it's a sort of two-pronged approach for this. There are 4 main polyphenols in bergamot, and you need this bottle here has probably got about 220 bergamot fruits in it.
Really, so that's a bottle of similar size. You were holding up a glass bottle there, similar in size. How many bergamot fruit in that?
220 plus. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you, so you're extracting the pulp.
The pulp, yes.
To get this, is it kind of like a fat blocker, or how does it work in the body?
So it's a fat binder, selective fat binder, and it also changes the way that the liver processes fat. So that's a metabolic process.
Gosh.
And over a 4-month period, the clinical trials show that it strips fat that sits within the liver. It's called fatty liver, which is a common problem these days.
Yeah.
And fatty liver causes all sorts of problems. It predisposes you to diabetes, to blood pressure, cardiovascular risk. Obviously, it raises your cholesterol, which is one of those symptoms within the mix. So that's the great thing about bergamot. It works almost on the same level as a statin, not quite.
How interesting.
So, but it works differently. It's very selective, and there's some. I think we sent you a training manual. There's an image. There are 2 images in that training manual of a liver before and after 4 months treatment with bergamot. It's called Bergatone, by the way.
Bergatone, okay.
Bergatone. And you can see that the liver is swollen. This was a big trial, 120 patients. And you can see in the images, the CT scans, the liver was swollen with fat on the before and on the after. It's got back to its normal shape. It's looking fit and healthy.
And that's just after 4 months of taking a bergamot supplement?
Yeah, that's after 4 months. I don't know whether you can see that. I tried to experiment with this before, and these are the 2 CT scans that we had as part of this trial.
Wow. I mean, we can certainly see it on Instagram, sadly not Facebook and YouTube. Do you have that on your website? Can people go and see the data on your website?
I think we do, yes. I think it is on the website, but I'll double check.
Being asked here if you can take Bergatone alongside statins, for those who are still on statins.
Yeah, and there is a study that shows that actually it improves the performance of statins at half the dose. So that study was published in the International Journal of Cardiology. It's a really well-respected journal. And peer-reviewed journal. So that's the great thing about you shouldn't necessarily have to do either or. Sometimes that works. But if you want to use alongside, actually there are benefits to your prescribed treatments. Obviously that needs to be done in conjunction with the GP and supervised. But the data shows that it does support. And if you're dropping the dose of your statin, you're less likely to have muscle aches. So this is this common problem with statins that you can sometimes suffer from.
No, definitely. My dad was the same, and we're being asked a couple of questions here I can see on Facebook. So, is it binding to healthy fats? How selective is it? Because obviously we need to be eating some good fats in our diet.
It doesn't bind to healthy fats. I mean, when they profile the before and after, so month 1 and month 4. You can see that the small dense, it's the small dense particles that it's affecting, not the bad guys. Those are the bad guys. Those are the things that cause the inflammation inside of the vessel. So it's very selective. And I think that this is a way of explaining that if you're using a range of polyphenols, so you do a holistic extract rather than a single entity. So example of this is most turmeric supplements are curcumin only. So one component. Where we want the symphony, we want the orchestra. And the orchestra is the thing that the body understands, because the body is an orchestra. And if you've got a menu of polyphenols there, the body will self-select from that menu as you need. And I think the body's a lot more intelligent than we give it credit for. And that's a really important part of our philosophy is we like to extract naturally, and we like to keep the range of polyphenols in there, or the bioactives. So because when you start to isolate just one component, you're getting back to what my roots, which is traditional pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, just taking one element. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, which is powerful but also problematic.
Right. That's fascinating. And fatty liver disease is something that we hear more and more about, and linked to spikes in insulin as well, and seems to be growing, unfortunately, that we seem to be, as an older population, increasingly at risk from fatty liver disease. Are there any signs of it? How can we tell how healthy our liver is? Because obviously it's kind of hard to know what's going on inside.
Well, obviously CT scan,
Okay.
but they're not cheap, and obviously the doctor will be quite selective about providing those on the NHS.
Yeah.
If you've got raised cholesterol, that's an indication that something's going on there.
Right.
If you've got high belly fat that sits below the rib cage where the liver's obviously placed, then that might be an indicator. So it often is a number of symptoms that you're looking out for. So high belly fat, obviously CT scan, and cholesterol that's out of balance.
Yeah, that's that fat around the middle. I've just seen here one of my lovely followers on Instagram saying that she works in the ultrasound department, and so many people have a fatty liver. It's really...
It's more common than we think. I think it's over 50% population.
Over 50%. Gosh, that is high. And presumably you can take this alongside other medication, can you?
Yes, it's really safe. We've got quite a few cardiovascular consultants using it alongside their mainstream prescription drugs. So that's the great thing about Bergamot. It's really, really well tolerated.
Now, I'm quite interested in talking about belly fat, muffin top and all that. Liver, all well and good, but, outward visible signs and this visceral fat that is so damaging to our internal organs as well. How effective would it be? I mean, is it something that we could use as part of a shape-up and weight loss regime?
I think it is. I think there's a lot of things that have got to come into play here. That you're resetting the metabolic system. You need to reset the digestive system. Obviously, you're changing your diet, hopefully.
Yeah, sure.
You're exercising more. Yeah. Often weight loss is a combination of things, and it's also in the mind as well, because I know for me it's biscuits. If I start getting a little bit emotionally drained, I go for the biscuit barrel. So that's a bit of a warning sign for me.
We've all been there, Kevin.
Chocolate digestives, that's always the one.
Yeah, hobnobs, terrible.
Hobnobs as well, So, and I think it's just knowing what the triggers are emotionally, what's happening around you and stuff, so that you're managing it better. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having the odd biscuit too. I think a lot of it is resetting the digestive system, all the right things that you talk about, the gut microbiome, the foods, all those fermented drinks and foods you've been talking about. It's really important to reset that, because otherwise, whatever you do, it's just going to kind of drag back to where you were at the start. And I think the Bergamot alongside that, for 4 months, you don't need to be taking it long term.
Oh, really? So it's not something... So Saffron you might take all the time, but Bergamot you might just do like a 4-month course.
So I'd start with a 4-month course, test your cholesterol.
Okay,
or whatever
interesting.
It is, maybe you've got circumference of the upper belly, and just monitor it before and after. We want to see what the markers are, because that's a good way of monitoring whether it's working. Because otherwise, what's the point of taking it if it's not working?
Yeah, if it's not working, absolutely. And I know one of the reasons I love your brand is it is very much evidence-based. And certainly, I've been writing about different herbs actually for the next issue of Earle Wellbeing magazine, and going on to PubMed. And it's, as you know, a great resource for all the clinical trials, and that's where they're all published. And it's extraordinary. You think it's all just synthetic drugs, but there's so much research, isn't there, going into so many of these naturals all around the world, from really high-end top clinical researchers and big university departments. It's really affirming, actually, to see that there is so much interest in the natural world, the plant kingdom.
Yeah, I love PubMed. I think that, the last 10 years has transformed this sector, and we've only just scratched the surface of what's available.
Yeah.
So, just so exciting to kind of think about what's to come, really, in terms of the research and the development. And I think, we have to be on our toes, because I think that the science is changing quite regularly. So you have to kind of think, well, okay, does that mean I have to update and modernise the formulations? But I think that, I feel very comfortable with the fact we don't use any synthetics, and we put prebiotics, organic prebiotics. We talked about organic baobab and organic moringa, which obviously you must be very aware
baobab,
of.
I'm in the land of the baobab tree. I will go and find later on today, this is a promise, a baobab tree, and take a picture of it, and I will tag you and I will put it on my Instagram, because I'm surrounded by them. And what I love about the baobab tree, there's a legend that says that, I don't know, why, the god was in a bad mood or something, but he uprooted the baobab tree and turned it upside down. So when you look at it, it's very spindly, and it looks as if all its roots are where the branches should be. It's like an upside down tree, and it has these big pods, baobab pods. And the monkeys love the pods, and they crack them open, and inside they've got these sort of little sherbety seeds that they snack on. And the kids pick them up and eat them as well, instead of sweets.
If you look at the profile, the nutrient profile of baobab and moringa, they are incredible. It's got a perfect kind of mix, So it was an unusual one for us to select, because it wasn't a sort of European kind of herb, but I was very happy to put that in. And that's, a lot of companies will put fillers in, or bulking agents, particularly if it's a tablet. It's very difficult to make a tablet without a bulking agent. We put baobab and moringa, and that to me just thinks it's a very holistic way of formulating, and it adds the benefits of each of the products that we're focusing on.
Amazing. Just a quick question before we move on to talk about turmeric. Thyroxine, a lot of people following here taking thyroxine. Any issues with that?
No, not at all. So you're talking about the Bergamot, not at all. We've got two different formulas for the Saffron now, one with B12 and one with marine minerals. The marine minerals version has got iodine in it, but it can be used alongside thyroxine without a problem.
Great. And of course, just to remind everyone that you do have a team of pharmacists, and you're happy to take calls and emails. Brilliant.
I expect to be busy this afternoon.
You're going to be super busy. Cancel all overtime for sure, or rather engage overtime and cancel all leave. Now, you talked there about gut health, and that's obviously something very close to my heart, having written about it for years. And one of the things that I've noticed is that turmeric, which we touched on a little bit earlier, is very much being implicated in better gut health as well, and helping to reduce processes of inflammation and improving the epithelial cell layer wall within the microbiome. So you've got a really interesting turmeric supplement, and I'm amazed that so much turmeric goes into one capsule. I mean, talk about value for money. That's amazing.
It is really incredible, and the great thing is one capsule a day is very easy to take.
I'm sold. Seriously, I'm on it.
One a day. I use it pre and post runs for recovery.
Do you?
It's a really good sporty kind of recovery remedy. And I think at any age, I think with children, obviously, you've got to be a little bit more careful below 14. Yeah. It's such a strong formulation. But from 14 upwards, you can use it if you've got problems with your gut health. It's just a general calmer. You've got gut inflammation, you've got slightly hyperactive or an allergic gut that's responding to food, creating food allergies. Then take that every day, and that's a real good kind of settler, and everything else then starts to work better within the gut because you're taking that and it's washing through.
So how does turmeric work then in the gut? Why is it so effective? Is it for dampening down inflammation? That was my understanding of it.
Yeah. So if you look at when I first started at Boots, I worked for the guy that discovered ibuprofen.
Oh, wow.
So as a 16-year-old, I remember asking him what is inflammation. And he drew this cascade of chemicals. So it's this from arachidonic acid down to all these inflammatory mediators, all these chemicals. And the great thing about turmeric, it starts to mediate all these inflammation chemicals at the bottom of that cascade. So it works a little bit like a conventional anti-inflammatory, but it's much more holistic.
Oh,
because
gosh.
there are lots of these different chemicals, and they're able to kind of like sometimes mediate them, sometimes block them, and just settle that kind of inflammation down. Because obviously, if you've not got the same level of as inflammatory mediators circulating around the gut, then you're not going to get that kind of inflammation spiraling, and that's what tends to happen.
Gosh, so just touching on that, ibuprofen then, which is the anti-inflammatory, it's marketed lots of different brand names like Nurofen, for example. That's a classic anti-inflammatory. Does turmeric have a similar action then within the body?
It does, but it doesn't do it on just one component. So with ibuprofen, it's affecting what we call an enzyme called COX enzyme, and it's called cyclooxygenase, and it'll affect just one of those. Whereas the great thing about, because you've got multiple polyphenols in here, multiple curcuminoid compounds, including curcumin, you're affecting quite a wide range of these inflammatory mediators, we call them,
right,
of which COX is just one of those components. So generally, with a prescription drug, you tend to affect one process, and the whole licensing process for drugs is based on them identifying one process that they can control.
Yeah.
So and obviously then we're going, I call it the big bass drum effect. You're just going for one instrument in the orchestra, and that's not the way the body works. No, holistically. So here's a personal question for you while I've got you. So occasionally I get headaches, and the only thing that works for me is ibuprofen. Paracetamol just doesn't seem to cut it, or aspirin, or any of the others. Could I try the turmeric instead? Do you think that would have an effect? It does, and it's called Naturaflex.
Naturaflex, thank you.
Yeah, not only is the high dose, because we have black peppers of very high strength, it takes the actives across the cell membrane, because otherwise it will just pass through. Now, it's a very poor example, and a poor example in terms of me going out and getting a little bit, drinking way too much before Christmas. And most awful headache the next day, awful hangover. 2 capsules of this just completely knocked it on the head. So
no way.
And normally I would just jump the ibuprofen.
This is not an excuse to go. We're not saying drink responsibly, please, and we're not saying it's not a pink ticket to go and drink too much. But should you be suffering, and should you be in need of a bit of ibuprofen or thinking about an anti-inflammatory, how interesting to be able to take that. And how much would you take? I mean, would you take 2 capsules perhaps instead of just the one?
I'd double it up. I doubled it up. I had to, but normally it's just 1 capsule, but that day I needed 2.
That's so interesting. I'm fascinated to hear that. And I know, my own daughter Lily, really suffers with an autoimmune disease, and a lot of, she's done a lot of research, as have I, to try and help, and talking about things like fibromyalgia and ME and, post-viral conditions, so many of them linked to processes of inflammation. Is the Naturaflex, do you think, something that could be worth trying for anybody that has an issue like that?
Yeah, I think generally with people with long-term conditions tend to be very instinctive about their symptoms, and know when it's a good day and when it's a bad day, and when they're having consistently better days. So I would say with the Naturaflex turmeric, because of the strength of it and the black pepper, and we have the magnesium in there as well because it's a muscle relaxant.
Interesting.
I would take it for a month, and then just write a little 0 to 10 little scale every day or whatever it is, and mark your symptoms off 0 to 10, 10 being really bad, and 1 0 being completely symptom free. And if you can track that it's a semi-scientific way. It's not a controlled study, but at least you can track it. You can look back over your month. Yeah. And if you're tracking down consistently, then you know that remedies make a difference. And I use that recommendation, that method, for a lot of people ringing up, because sometimes you get people ringing up with 10, 15 supplements. And I say to them, well, actually, sometimes you have to just figure out what's making a difference to you.
Yeah, you do. And the only way is to selectively track, as you say, and keep that journal.
Yeah, so I would say it's definitely one to try, 1 a day, possibly 2, and then track your symptoms on a monthly basis. And obviously, if it's tracking down, you know it's making a difference. And that's obviously that. Then inflammation is a driver for your condition.
Yeah,
interesting.
Just a last question here on that from Joe, who's saying, as an asthmatic who can't take ibuprofen, would it be safe to try this?
Yes, and that's the interesting thing. I was about to mention the fact that ibuprofen, because you're affecting one of those elements of the cascade, then it imbalances another area.
It knocks everything out, doesn't it? Yeah.
So it's a bit like if you've got all this water cascading down, you block one of them, then the water's going to go somewhere else. So that's the way I always describe it. So the great thing about having multiple curcuminoids in there, again, it's orchestrating a proper balance. So no problem with asthma whatsoever. Yeah.
So fascinating. Kevin, I'm going to have to love you and leave you. I could talk to you all day. And I'm putting my order in. I've got a shipping service that comes out to Kenya, which I've discovered, so I can get stuff here, which is brilliant. Do you? And no, it's not actually DHL. It's a company who, you can have stuff sent to it, like a consignor, and then they send it on to you, which is great. Okay. My son's discovered it because he's living out here now, so he uses it all the time. Do you ship worldwide? I know a lot of our followers here are not necessarily based in the UK.
We do ship worldwide. Hopefully the Europeans kind of problems are settling down now. We've had some issues with parcels coming back from Ireland, for instance, because the customs didn't really understand what documents were required. So touch wood, hopefully that's been resolved now. So we do. We're as far as New Zealand.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. And there have been so many questions. I'm sorry that we haven't been able to get through it all, but it's great to know that for all those who are asking specific medical questions and specific advice in relation to your own conditions, that there is this team of really qualified pharmacists, proper medical grade pharmacists, who can be at the other end of the phone or the other end of an email, which is just so reassuring that you've got properly qualified people there who know their stuff and can help.
Yeah, it really gives me a lot of joy, actually, listening to some of the stories.
Amazing.
Before and after.
I've read some of your reviews, honestly, and it's so great. I can't remember when I first came across you, maybe, I don't know, it must be at least, I think we first wrote about you in the magazine. I think I was writing a piece on crocus, actually, so that's probably where I first discovered Saffron, maybe 4 years ago or so. And, just to see your products develop and your website and the fact that you're this fantastic British brand that's growing, it's, really sending you so many hearts from Kenya. I can actually show you, look, I've got my little heart-shaped leaves I can share with you.
Thank you.
I think it's great what you're doing, and thank you for your generous discount. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks again for asking us to talk.
No, it's wonderful. Thank you. Come back and talk again soon, will you please?
Will do. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Now you have to click leave because otherwise I click everybody off and that
this is where I have to figure out
doesn't go down well.
Okay.
So just to recap there, because I know lots of you are still asking medical questions, please contact Naked Pharmacy. You heard what Kevin said. He's got him and 4 other properly qualified pharmacists. At the end of a phone, you can ring a real person. Isn't that amazing? Or send an email if you feel more comfortable doing that, and get proper individual advice tailored for you. And do check out their website, Naked Pharmacy. Such interesting information. And as I say, I'm always very nervous when talking about herbal supplements and vitamins, and I really want to be sure if I'm going to share something with our community here that it's evidence-based, it's safe, it's effective. And now even more affordable because we have 20% off. So you just use your Liz Loves, all in capitals, all one word. Super generous. Don't buy it all up before the end of this live, please, because I do need to be ordering some. I've got my Saffron, but I'm definitely in need of the Bergamot, I think it is. And fascinating, I learned so much personally from that. I am definitely going to be having the Naturaflex. I've actually got some in my cupboard at home, and I don't know, I obviously haven't kind of, done as much research on that personally for me as I should have done. because the fact that I could, you know, do away with my ibuprofen and actually have something that's potentially maybe safer, better, more effective, and has lots of other benefits. I must get Lily onto that as well. I must have a chat with her about it. Yeah, Pen, it's so fascinating, isn't it? Really, really interesting. And I just love my job. Just love being able to talk about these interesting things that help so many people. So we're running out of time, but just wanted to say I got caught out when I first arrived. You may have seen I put a little video clip of me on a speedboat coming across to Lamu, and even in that short amount of time I had a shawl on and it slipped off my shoulder, and you can't see because I'm wearing sleeves, but if I wear something strapless later in the week, you might see that I've got a really red shoulder where it just caught me. And I have been using one of my favourite remedies, which I wanted to share with you. So I am loving the Beauty Pie Triple Hyaluronic Acid Cream. It's an amazing moisturiser. And for cold weather skin, honestly, it's really saved the day. It has no fragrance, super moisturising. I love it. And what I've done to soothe my sunburn, isn't that awful, is a few drops of my lavender oil, my Neal's Yard lavender oil, mixed in with a really lovely, calming, nourishing cream, and using that. And honestly, I used it last night, and in the morning it had gone down so much. And lavender is just such an amazing thing. I use it every night on my pillow. I always travel with my little bottle of lavender. But I was just so pleased to have it in terms of taking away the ouch of red burnt skin. And I also keep a bottle in my kitchen, because if I burn myself when I'm cooking or a little scald, then I find it really helpful for that. And of course, it just smells good. And the good thing is that I did check, because I knew I was going to mention this, is you get 15% off everything still at Neal's Yard Remedies. So if you're looking at stocking up any of your essential oils or any of their lovely bath products or body products, or they also have lots of interesting herbal remedies as well on their website, different things from Naked Pharmacy, but really worth looking at, then don't forget that you can use your Liz Loves across Neal's Yard, which is great. Another great British founder-led brand that I also really love. And Beauty Pie, if you're not yet a member, again, they've given us a discount with the Liz Loves code. It gets you 10%. Sorry, not doesn't. It gets you £10, 10 actual pounds off your membership. And they've got basically it's a subscription service where you join, and then everything that you buy is at cost price. So it's super good value. And I've had some amazing comments, actually. Let me just read you a couple. I've had some really lovely comments from... let me just scroll down here. This is from Vanessa on YouTube. Hi Vanessa, if you're watching on Catch Up, who says, well, after seeing many of your posts, Liz, on Beauty Pie, I thought it was time to up my game on my skincare. Living on the Kenya coast, hello, it must be near me, with huge exposure to sun, wind, don't I know it, and sea, despite masses of sunblock. I noticed sunspots and skin damage, so I dived in. So much to choose from, but I booked a Zoom skincare consultation with a lovely Beauty Pie staff member, and she advised me what to buy. Even 3 days in, I'm noticing the incredible difference to my skin and neck. Isn't that great? They are great products, truly, truly good products. My Ingenious Collagen and Amino Slim arrived too. Yeah, I've got both of those with me here in Kenya. And all worthwhile investments, giving me a little bit more protection and boosting up my old skin. So thank you, Liz. I'm telling all my girlfriends about it and hope they sign up too. Clever Beauty Pie. You can immediately tell they really are high quality products. Well, thank you very much, Vanessa, for sharing that. And I say Jambo Sana to you in Kenya. That means hello. It means a very big hello. Jambo is hello, and Sana means very. So you can apply it to pretty much everything. You know, you can say, what would you say, Maridadi, which is like pretty or beautiful, but if it's very beautiful, it would be Maridadi Sana, you know, so, or if you say Karibu, which is welcome, and it's Karibu Sana, you are very welcome. So Jambo Sana to you, Vanessa. Another nice comment here actually from Dee on YouTube. Nice to get lots of comments on the YouTube community, because we're not so interactive, because we can't go live on YouTube at the moment. But you say, Dee, oh my goodness, I bought one of Lily's LED masks when it first arrived. I thought, what the heck did I just do, spending all this money on this silly thing? But then I used it, and I've continued to use it most every evening for the last 6 months, and my skin has transformed. Liz, I'm 52 years old. It looks like I turned back the clock to my 30s. Oh my goodness. Biggest changes to my marionette lines around my mouth, which is like here. Skin has significantly firmed up and droops very little now. I used to go for regular Botox injections, but haven't needed to since this mask. It's one of the best purchases I've made. Big thanks to you and Lily for this product, and also for your HRT info. I started this in March, and it's made such a positive impact on my life. You are awesome. I appreciate you greatly. Well, thank you very much, Dee. I appreciate your feedback, and I will pass that on to Lily. She will be especially pleased to hear that. She's just come back from an amazing trip to Dubai. She went to one of the beauty trade shows and has brought some really interesting ideas back, which I'm going to talk to her about. She's not very well today, unfortunately, so sending lots of hearts and loves to Lily. She's having a really, really nasty attack, so she is lying down in a darkened room, and I must order some of that Naturaflex actually for her to try. But thank you, Dee. She will be very heartened to hear that. And you're right, it's a big investment, and you think, oh my goodness, you know, but if it's saving you all that money on other things especially, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm going to have to go because I need to record a podcast. I've got a massively busy schedule despite being out here. So I'm filming for YouTube. So all my YouTube followers, hopefully you will enjoy some of the YouTubes coming up later in the week, and also a podcast. Brand new series of the Earle Wellbeing Show starts on Wednesday, and also the Friday 5, of course, this Friday. So lots happening there. Just a last chance, I've got a message here from my team who said that if anybody wants to get the subscription gift to subscribe to the magazine, you're going to have to be quick. That is the really lovely, the Deep Sleep Overnight Treatment from Michael Van Clark, great British hairdresser. It's worth £32.50. And it's completely free with your direct debit subscription for Earle Wellbeing magazine. And also, last chance, this expires on the 31st of January, so quick alert, and that's Bramley. Do you remember the lovely Bramley products? Oh, such pretty things. I had loads which I gave away actually for Christmas, bought them as Christmas presents and gave them to lots of friends. We have a 15% discount on that great British brand as well, so do please take a look because they are beautiful things if you're wanting to restock on anything before it goes. I will be back here live on Wednesday. Now I know that my connectivity works. Isn't that exciting? I am hoping, if the wind dies down, maybe I'll be able to be outside and bring you a change of scene and not just my bedroom. Nice as it is, but you know, it'd be nice to show a little bit more of Kenya. But I will go out and I will take some pictures, including that baobab tree. Yes, I will go and find it and I will put it on my Instagram a little bit later. But I hope to be back, all being well, with you live on Wednesday. We're going to talk about nutrigenomics for a Wellbeing Wednesday. Drilling down into our personalised DNA. I'm going to be joined live with Emma Bezic, who is the female founder of Life Code GX. We'll be talking about all sorts of things, methylation, glutathione, all that kind of stuff, okay? Supplements to support the well-being. We'll be talking about Better You, the vitamin D, the magnesium, Youth and Earth, their glutathione, which is something that I use and I brought with me, Leapfrog Immune, lactoferrin, all of that. So all that is coming up on Wednesday. So make a date to join me live or to join on Catch Up, either on Instagram or over, of course, on Facebook or YouTube. Lovely to see you all. So pleased that connectivity works. Thank you. Thanks for all the hearts. Really super. Lovely to see you. Thank you. Stay well, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.